We all know fearful avoidants are basically human lie detectors. They catch everything. They notice every little shift or change in a pattern. They remember details to your story. And if you told a story one way 2 weeks ago and changed your story ever so slightly 2 weeks later, they are going to clock it. They are going to catch it because they are hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is their attachment strategy. But what happens when a fearful avoidant does know that somebody's lying, or at least they suspect dishonesty? Maybe they did notice details of a story change or something in your demeanor suddenly become different. Well, honestly, it's often a lonely road for fearful avoidance because while fearful avoidants catch everything, they also don't know how to communicate. So in today's video, I'm going to break down for you what happens when the fearful avoidant notices somebody lying and what their inner world becomes. But most importantly, what you can do if you are a fearful avoidant attachment style, going through this experience of feeling like something's off, something's changed, you know something's up, but then you go through all this inner turmoil and don't know how to resolve it in a constructive way. I'll give you 3 steps for how to do that. Let's start by talking about the fearful avoidance inner world. Here's the first thing you want to know. Fearful avoidance, because literally they grew up having to read between the lines because usually they were exposed to a pretty strong amount of chaos. They basically had to read between the lines and stay on high alert to feel safe. Reading between the lines is like their specialty. They almost see through people in a way. This is something that helps them have a superpower on one hand of being really attuned to people. They can make people feel seen and special and heard. They tend to remember important things in their loved ones' lives quite well. And they tend to be loyal and caring about people's feelings and experiences. And they're good at drawing things out of people as well. But when they think that somebody may have malicious intent, or they're hiding something, or they're being secretive or ambiguous, fearful avoidants start to spin out, especially if this is with somebody in a relationship that they feel vulnerable to. For example, if you have a romantic partner who you obviously feel vulnerable to because you're falling in love with them or you are in love with them, and all of a sudden you feel like they just canceled plans at the last minute and didn't tell you why, and that's a different change in the pattern than what they usually do. Usually fearful avoidance, the first thing that happens is they start jumping to the conclusions of their own pre-existing core wounds. And the fearful avoidance core wounds are the fear of being betrayed, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of being unworthy or not good enough in some way, the fear of being, and this is a big one, bad in some way, like they did something wrong. And so fearful avoidance, those are not their only core wounds, but these are what are applicable there, usually jump to those conclusions. And as a result of this, they end up spiraling through all these scenarios related to those core wounds. For example, they might think, okay, why would you cancel plans at the last minute on an evening where it's date night? We usually go out on Fridays, perhaps. Are you dating somebody else? Is there somebody else that piqued your interest? Why didn't you tell me openly what's going on? Why are you being private about it? Are you leaving? Are you planning on leaving? Do you not think I'm good enough or worthy for you? They will think through all of these possibilities and they will begin to ruminate about all these possibilities. And then they will often just feel really triggered, very upset, and it's a really hard thing to go through. But here's where it's especially hard, and then we're going to talk about what to do. It's especially hard because fearful avoidants don't know how to be vulnerable very well because their vulnerability wasn't positively reinforced growing up. So they don't know how to take that emotion and then have a conversation that's productive. They don't know how to say, hey, I feel hurt. I need some transparency. What's going on? Or hey, I feel confused. Can you bring some clarity to the situation? They don't know how to do that. And they don't know how to ask for it. It feels too vulnerable and they're scared of being shameful or weak if they do open up. So then they just hold everything in and then start pushing people away to protect themselves instead. And that's usually where the avoidant side of the fearful avoidant attachment style comes in, which is painful and confusing. And so what do you actually do that unlocks you out of this loop? Well, number one, you work through your core wounds. Okay, you actually work to rewire them. Each core wound takes about 21 days or so using a process called belief reprogramming that we teach inside the personal development school. If you want to check that out for free, you can check out the emotional mastery and belief reprogramming course. It goes into a lot of detail for how to recondition these core wounds. I'll put the link down below, and it actually comes for free with the nervous system course. It's a gift. You can check those out. Let me tell you the things you can do starting right now that you can begin today. Step 2 is, and it doesn't necessarily matter which order, you want to practice communicating. You want to actually have a conversation. And that usually looks like asking for clarity when something feels off. It's not a big, scary ask to ask for clarity. But if somebody cancels plans at the last minute, you don't have to be all professional and sound like you're a teacher at a university. You don't have to turn around and say, oh, can you please add some clarity to this? But you can say, hey, What happened? What's going on here? I'd love some clarity. This isn't like you to change things at the last minute. Is everything okay? By bringing those types of questions to the forefront of the conversation, now all of a sudden there's room for the dialogue to be opened up. And when there's room for the dialogue to be opened up, everything starts to change. Now you get your needs met. And fearful avoidance, this brings me to the third point. How you build trust in your relationships. Fearful avoidants need consistency. They need congruency. Like what somebody says and does have to line up. They need the ability to receive context for things, like to ask for context or clarity around situations. And they need to feel like their feelings are considered. I call these the 4 C's of fearful avoidance rebuilding trust. And if these things are missing, they often will spiral and they'll go back to the worst case scenarios of their core wounds. So in this third step, if you can bring in those 4 C's and have these conversations and ask for clarity, tell people consistency is important to you. Tell people that you want to have your feelings seen and considered in different situations. If you can build these ingredients into your relationships and let people know they matter to you, your ability to trust will skyrocket. Your ability to feel safe in relationships will completely change. And I know it's not easy to ask for those things. It feels vulnerable at first, but you can titrate it. You can do exposure work around it where you do small steps of asking for small pieces of clarity or small bits of consistency slowly over time until it feels natural and more normal to ask for your needs. And once you've got a little bit of momentum under your belt of doing that, everything will start to shift and change. And it's a really big way of being able to not go through this painful, sometimes even traumatizing cycle of noticing something's off, having all these core wounds come up. Now you're ruminating, you're thinking about all these worst case scenarios, and then you push away and sabotage your relationships as a result in the name of self-protection. Very painful thing to do and totally a solvable problem by digging into those 3 steps. I hope that makes sense. I hope this is supportive for you. If you have more questions about this, let me know in the comments. And if you do this, I would love to hear which version of these things are the strongest for you. And I'll make more video content around them. I'm here to support you on your journey of healing. I was a fearful avoidant who healed and has been in a really, really loving, really secure relationship for going on the last 12 years with my husband. And I just know that this is possible for everybody if it was possible for me. So I'm here to share it with you. Thanks for watching.